of the core team. But my question, sir, was that we know that illegal constructions, quarrying, there are critical hot spots. One is, for example, Kaliasor. I am familiar from 1920 onwards, number of times the slides have repeated. So some of these hot spots, I know that earthquake cannot be predicted, and this is well-known fact in science. But my submission was that while we are preoccupied and busy with all this, we should not lose sight of the fact that if anything happens, at least there should be a separate dedicated group assigned the task of looking at those hot spots. Those buildings which had not come down last time may come down now. And there are a number of buildings which are non-engineered buildings. I personally know them. There are bridges which are waiting to fall down. All those things, we have to really, your resources are strained. I sympathize with that.
I'll tell you why. Now, first of all, on this particular disaster, since you are very familiar, now you know the height of the tree line above Kedarnath is something like about 13,000 feet, and it drops to about 6,000 feet in 6K area. And that river Mandakini flows, and this civilization around Mandakini has been there for decades and things like that. So, to pinpoint that this is what has happened because of this and all at this, but I agree there are buildings. Now, do you expect, let me ask you a question. We have given guidelines on, you know, what kind of retrofitting, what kind of building structures, what kind of things for to prevent them against disasters against us. I know how vulnerable Simla is, and we have highlighted that also. But do you expect Government of India to run municipal administration? No, it's not possible, and I don't want to get into this. My worry is this: I will get bogged down. I'm not there to run the state administration, or I'm not the, you know, kind of the municipal administrator, the chief of municipality of a particular district or things like that. It is the responsibility of the state administration and this thing to see that they have now kind of brought certain things, that no connect construction around, you know, on the river banks and this and that and all this stuff. But there are old buildings that are still there, and they will continue to be vulnerable. So I have no response to that. All I can say is that one can only give an advisory. Now, we had a long discussion with the Minister of Environment and Forest on this vulnerable thing. Also as to why these buildings have become vulnerable also. That also has to be seen. It is not only a landslide, it's also the floods which are causing these buildings to be more and more vulnerable because the banks are being eroded. And the banks are being eroded because of in Uttarakhand particularly, because it has been declared as an eco zone. So even the river aggregations have gone up because you can't kind of take out this thing. So it's a mismatch between, it's a problem between you can say between environment and this issue. But the point is conceded. I mean, there cannot be any argument on that as to any vulnerable structure. It should not be allowed to be there, but it is there. So I think you'll have to allow me. No, I'll tell you what, I'll miss the flight. Then I will have other fun.
And I have been long-time friends and colleagues, and since he has gone, I would now request the normal session to begin with Dr. Chandan Ghosh with an authority on the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this whole day deliberation, we have given 9-page note. Don't count the page 9 or anything. Some of the points that we thought that to bring before you, things here in my presentation, especially that where we have gone wrong. That aspect we'll be looking into. Of course, it is the gathering over here is gives us what 110 years before. That this, the Swamiji gave a reply, these mountains are associated with the best memories and other things which you can see. But what I am going to do is that these are the two different divisions and more or less where that devastation has concentrated. Main focus of this session, manner in which emergency response plan activated, and also help sought received from police, army, air force and all others, and in what manner during golden period or even till now. And this is main focus of this session and especially this workshop. And let us see that explore where we have gone wrong and how we must look forward. It is not a blame game or anything, it is just see that what we have been and what we are today. And let us go through some of those things. And nothing is new yet, but pre-learned lesson. But thing is that very awfully we forget that. So let us see that how we can keep that thing in our action and in our proceedings. You know that Himalayas are fragile. We also know that prolonged rainfall causes a lot of other things, flash flood and everything. But if rainfall causes more slopes to slide, then we are on wrong path probably. I may be excused, but thing is, we know approaches are maybe somewhere it is obsolete or we are not taking care of it. Because we are making roads, we are making establishment. We have to take the responsibility. So experiences of early or late seasonal rainfall or belated monsoon and other things are recorded in bar diagram or pie chart and bar chart, which are available in our archives. But greater policy attention is to be given now because of this incident. So context is vulnerability. Whether it is hills or plains, everywhere it is there, deliberations are going on. And we are waiting, and sense of preparedness where we are, that we have to see in some of the examples that I am going to give. Because just saying that we are ready probably is not going to define our stability here in this earth. The early warning, we have potential, we had in 2004, long before also we had. Temperament versus owning instruments by outside funds in dollar term. Probably how many instruments, how many crores we are going to spend, that is the spree that we are going. We have to see that how effectively we can utilize those instruments. And weather forecasting in the form of text or fax message or SMS and other things versus Central Weather Commission's warning protocol where we are standing now. That also we have to relook. And also ISRO or IIRS or all this, that whatever Bhuvan or Gagan images are there versus Google Earth, what is giving freely to us. I'll show some of those things. And SASE is there, Wadi Institute is there. We are in the science of block study, prediction and other things. But whereas we have something, Bhutan, our neighboring country, they have got the pride in applied science of law. We have to look at that also. And Emergency Operations Center and Emergency Contact, I have written in bracket, they are still run in dead mode because they are printed in crores of rupees in the newspaper, but not in the high-end mobile. Why? Where we are lacking. We have to also explore that. And also GSI, IIRS, landslide hazard maps. They are in colorful map alerts are available, given to various agencies. To what extent they have been penetrated or infused into our operating agencies like BRO, NHAI. That also you have to look at, which is still running on BPR approach. Detailed project report, where is the time gap there with the present technology and technology that which was obsolete 30 years ago. I will also show some examples. An example of some desi word I have used here, please excuse me, cheap alternatives for river training or even flood control, that which are available in our country, or even road reconstruction versus high-end Videshi. Please excuse me, marketeers omnipotence in our country, and we just wait for spending crores in buying those instruments, but no application is there. Otherwise we would not have seen such kind of disaster.
30 minutes more, so just 45 minutes, 6 presentations plus then discussions. There will be no time for interaction. So I would request the presenters to be as brief as they can possibly be. General Baba.
Possible, and I'll tell you why. You've read a lot about the Army's efforts in the media and all, but generally it was said that okay, Army is doing a good job and they are evacuating people. I'll tell you what went around and how we went around, conducting this relief operation in Uttarakhand. Next. See, first and foremost, we considered it when the disaster struck, and seeing the magnitude, we saw it as a war against nature. It was against time, because there were people who had not got food for about 4 to 5 days. They were out in the open. They were absolutely wet, no warm clothing on them, no means to go because the road at number of places had been cut off. So these people were the ones that had to be evacuated, and it was an aggression by the man. In war, we try and win over the enemy. Here it was, we had to win over the nature. Next. Now if you see, this is the map of Uttarakhand. You have 5 valleys here. Yamunotri, the Gangotri Valley, which is Harsil area, the Kedarnath Valley leading on to Rudraprayag, the Badrinath Valley, which comes on to the comes Joshimath, and the Pithoragarh sector or the Kali River Valley. These have got huge massives separating each valley. There are no communications, forward communication connecting one valley to the other. The road is far in depth, which is connecting these valleys. And therefore, each of these valleys was affected. It's only the magnitude of the problem was different. Kedarnath was the worst affected, while Yamunotri possibly was the least affected. And incidentally, Yamunotri also does not fall in the area of my control, that is the Uttar Bharat area. It actually goes under the Western Command, which is at Chandi Mandir. Now, what was at stake? Lives of more than 1 lakh fellow countrymen. It was a litmus test for India as a national power. The entire world was watching whether we can handle a disaster of this magnitude. The aspirations of people and the hopes of the survivors and their families. The operation, since 1990s, anything that happens in the world, particularly when the the Iraq war took place, everything is today in full glare of the media. Everything is seen, every activity is watched, commented upon. And finally, when we were handed over the task of evacuation and rescue, it was the ethos and the credibility of the army as such which was at stake. And how did we manage it? Let me tell you, the entire area which was affected was about 40,000 square kilometers. Now, we were as much affected by this disaster as anybody else in that particular area, because we have our units located there. We have a brigade headquarters and a battalion and certain other troops in the Badrinath Valley. We have a battalion in the Gangotri Harsil Valley. We have a brigade headquarters and 2 to 3 battalions in the Pithoragarh sector. So we were everywhere. And we were as much affected. We had our patrols going out to the borders, basically for carrying out our operational tasks. All these patrols were there, and therefore, first and foremost it was an operational standpoint where we had to get our own people to safety. We had to worry about them. We, gentlemen and ladies, let me inform you that we carry out every year in the month of around May and June a review of the disasters that have struck and prepare ourselves for anything that happens. You've seen last year, Uttarkashi, there was a flood. We lost one very young officer of the Border Roads organization there. A couple of years back, there was a very massive earthquake which had taken place. So these are very common. Our people who are in this particular area in Uttarakhand are fully aware as to what is at stake, what is happening. And therefore, we carry out that exercise. And let me also inform you that in the month of May, I myself wrote a demi-official letter to the Chief Secretary asking him that these disasters can strike anytime. We have a very huge number of pilgrims who go to their various shrines. We have large number of service personnel and ex-servicemen also going, but we do not have any helipads. So I requested him for preparation of certain helipads in that area. However, it's a different matter that none of these helipads were constructed over there. Now, we therefore carry out an operational discussion in the month of May, and we did that this year as well. We carry out, since I told you that we have units in almost every valley, we also carry out tasking, which is our standard operating procedure every year. However, we had not, and let me just admit that, we had not anticipated that there is a disaster which is going to strike simultaneously in the entire state of Uttarakhand. Normally it happens in one odd valley, we send forces from here and there and we deal with that. And we have a concept in the army. It's not only in Uttarakhand, it is all over, in the northeast, it is there in the north, in Ladakh, where advanced monsoon stocking and advanced winter stocking is done of all our logistic needs for the army. However, the underlying idea is for the army, the units and the personnel who are there. For them, in the monsoons, we generally do it for about 2 months. In the case of winters, we do it anything from about 3 to 6 months, depending on the areas affected. Now, the planning process. We had, once the disaster did strike on 16th of June, 15th and 16th of June, we thereafter started weather update, or we were getting the weather updates from various agencies that are there on the internet as well as the government agencies, and we realized that we had only a short window of only 4 days at that point of time. We were told the weather is going to be clear only for those 4 days. Subsequently again, possibly a rainfall of an even more serious nature is likely to occur. We therefore had a proactive approach and we continued simultaneous interaction with all the district magistrates. Let me tell you that the state government gave us the warning for mobilization of the defense forces on the 19th of June. However, at the district level and at our unit level in each valley, we were already interacting with the district magistrates, and the first force which was sent for evacuation in the general area of Dehradun was on 16th itself, which I am sure General Agarwal might tell you subsequently. On 16th June itself, and 17th and 18th, I myself moved. My headquarters are at Bareilly in UP. On 18th morning at 10 o'clock, I had moved my headquarters along with the essential staff to Dehradun in order to interact with the state government and provide whatever relief was required. So it was even before the written orders came, and therefore what I am trying to tell you is that it is not always necessary that orders have to come in writing and only then will you interact. We were already interacting and we were already taking action. On 16th and 17th, all my units had been mobilized. All my patrols which are out had been told to stay put wherever they were, and the moment the weather improves little to pull back, we were to pull them back. At a later stage, these patrol bases became the bases where all the civilians in that particular general area were collected together and given certain amount of support.
Of time, and I will be as brief as possible, less than 5 minutes. I'll skip out the things which I think will be covered by some other speaker or have been covered. The ground reality was, as General Baba has told, that out there only Army and ITBP was in location. So we had to respond, and the response started on 16th itself. Here I want to bring a point that on night 16th-17th, DM Dehradun had requested me for AIS column because there were streams in spate in Dehradun and Hardwar. Now when water comes to Dehradun and Hardwar, it comes from mountains. The water would have come there 8 hours prior to that. I will touch on this point little later again. Macro level, and I will tell at functional level how we converted his directions into action. Our first task was to search for people and bring them to safe locations. Once we have brought them to safe location, there was taking care of them, providing them food, providing them medical aid, water, and psychologically reassuring them that they will be taken up. Thereafter, continue to house them till they were evacuated, and then either evacuate them or send them to a relief camp. Accordingly, the entire operation was divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 was rescue and relief, that is collection of people. Phase 2 was evacuation by air, and phase 3, when we realized that evacuation by air was not possible for the whole lot of people because of weather constraints and the number of people that can go in a helicopter, we had to resort to evacuation by foot alongside. Priority of evacuation: priority 1, sick and wounded; priority 2, old person; priority 3, ladies and children; and lastly the fit people. They were motivated to walk back. Nobody was forced, they were reassured. Their walking was facilitated by putting so many relief points, giving them refreshments, and our people walking along with them, and some very senior officers walking along with them. The action plan, as has already been told, at very initial stage itself, headquarter Uttar Bharat area had been mobilized. They came to Dehradun, and my headquarter elements from there moved to forward areas. Along each axis, we established command and control, which has already been built on. Now, how it converted into at ground? At places where work was required to be done, we had our company commanders who are major level officers, were fairly senior and experienced. At places where any kind of decision was required, we had commanding officers who are of the rank of a colonel, and along each independent axis, we had the officers of brigadier rank. And from Dehradun, General Baba and myself, we were coordinating with the state as well as controlling the affairs ahead and coordinating with the other elements involved in the effort. There ample amount of relief work done. It is not only the stocks that were available with the troops in front. Whole lot of stocks were sent from Dehradun, whether it was rations, ATF, telephones, mobile teams. The most important in this commodity in this operation, or the machine in this operation, was helicopter, and to keep them operational, a lot of ATF was required to be moved in, and that ATF was required to be moved in when the roads were not through. This was a major challenge, but it was done. At no stage of the entire operation, helicopters became non-operational because of non-availability of ATF. It was all throughout the operation made available at the locations where it was required. That is the kind of numbers that were evacuated or passed through our hands. I'll take 2 minutes on this. Now, early warning systems, yes, they need to be improved. They need to be better. But we have certain early warning systems, but what we are lacking is their protocol of dissemination and mass education, and so that they reach the last man. And what is our response to these early warnings? If I hear from here and it goes out here and without traveling upwards, there is no point. We can have any amount of early warning systems. I'm dwelling on this point because it was raining incessantly for 5 days prior to this disaster. We at Dehradun, we used to talk that probably this year there Uttarakhand state will be washed away. We used to get number of requests from friends, relatives and colleagues who wanted to visit Char Dham. I used to tell them, if you come, I will not be able to send you up. If I send you up, I will not be able to get you back. At maximum you can come and stay with me, I have a big house. In that kind of a situation, what were 1.5 lakh people doing in that treacherous terrain, which is so difficult? That is, we have become totally canvas, whether it is individuals or when we discharge. Even the individuals who are there, they should have thought as to why they are there and exposing themselves to such a great risk. And as far as administratively we should force this time, we can have so many early warnings, we can have so many systems, but till the time we have the willpower to pick up a stick and ensure what the early warning means, it may not fructify 20 times. 19 times a warning will go without the end result. But once that it strikes, for that time, we have to have drills and follow them every time. Like in army, we have a avalanche drill. Every time there is a avalanche drill, the entire movement is seized, nobody moves. That is for once that avalanche will come, we want to save. We have to be very serious about it. Proactive response. We are always reacting to a